Imagine being an artist, you make a beautiful piece, post it online, and everybody in the comment section are saying one thing. Are you colorblind? So all of this cracks down with this post by Twitter user 3con_Noka, writing, Dogo Mikon's rice ball highly recommend. And it's the artist drawing of a character, Mikon holding an orange rice ball. Except, if you look at the character, their skin tone is a little bit off. They have a bit of an alien green undertone to their skin that, isn't necessarily quite present in a human character. And in the comment section, some people are pointing it out. A commenter says, cute. Is the skin color different from usual? The artist says, I occasionally change the color scheme based on my preferences. And the commenter says, I see. I thought it looked a bit greener than usual, so... Another commenter says, it looks green, huh? Maybe it's the environment? And the artist says, wait, seriously? To me, it just looks yellow. And other people in the comment section were all basically saying the same thing. The art is super cute. She's looking a little green. And the artist added, under normal circumstances, one should be able to distinguish between green and yellow. They add the two emoji circles, one for green, one for yellow. I can tell the difference between these colors. The left is green, the right is yellow. In the illustration, the warm tones like orange hair are interfering so much that it honestly looks like nothing but yellow skin. I completely don't get the phenomenon where everyone says it's goblin or zombie-like. And then the artist has this post where they write, when I tried removing all the warm tone colors around it as a test, I was like, wait, it's green. Oh no. So why the hell did I place green there? It's an absolute mistake I never make normally. And since I'm doing it while looking at the color wheel, there's no way I would have messed up. And here, as you can see, they removed all the warm tone hair and stuff like that, and the green looks even more prominent. And this was likely due to color theory, right? How colors around other colors will influence the way you perceive them. So maybe like surrounding the green with a bunch of warm tone colors, it looks less green. A commenter adds a video writing, in this video, midway through, the skin tone changes to a light green color. The person themselves didn't realize they had color vision deficiency until they posted the video, and the viewers pointed it out in the comments. So here you can see in the video, we kind of have the character, and then all of a sudden at the 25-second mark, the character's skin tone looks a bit green. And then at the 30-something mark, it goes back to the normal skin tone again. The artist says, thank you for the reference video. Around the 30-second mark, there are a ton of comments saying the color changes to green. But to me, it looks like a normal skin tone with a strong yellowish tint. Another commenter drops a colorblind test, adding cute art. But here, you might want to test something. What numbers are in the circles? And if you guys haven't done this before, I recommend you run this little test on yourself. People were basically saying, is this like a trick question? Whatever. If you're fully not colorblind, you should be able to see all of these numbers. There's numbers in every single section, which A is 25, B is 6, C is 45, D is 8, E is 56, and F is 29. Which also, I think it's pretty interesting because in the comments, a lot of people were like, oh, I can see everything. And then other people were like, wait, I can't see B. Does that mean I'm colorblind? Or another person says, I thought people would get stuck on E or F. I can see the numbers in them, but they seem the faintest. B looks vividly clear to me, and from the responses, it seems like it's supposed to be the most difficult. Me personally, I'm not colorblind, but B was the hardest for me to see, and F is probably the second hardest for me to see. Also, complete little deviant, couple of fun facts about colorblindness. Colorblindness affects men more frequently than women. It's because it is believed to be carried on the X chromosome. People who are male at birth have XY chromosomes, whereas people who are female at birth have XX chromosomes. So because there's only one instance of an X chromosome in a biological male, therefore there is no extra stuff to kind of like correct for it, and it will show more prominently. Whereas if you have XX chromosomes, then there is a likelihood that the second X chromosome doesn't contain the colorblindness gene, and you will have color weaknesses, but it might not be as strong for you. Colorblindness affects like 1 in 12 men and like 1 in 200 women. On average, about 1 in every 20 people are colorblind. So if you know 20 people, likely one of them is colorblind. Also, the term colorblind, like a lot of people will misinterpret it as like you literally cannot see color. That's not how it works. It's like a complete spectrum. You can have color weaknesses where you just don't see a color as strongly as somebody else would see it. You could have like a complete deficiency in seeing one type of color, like a complete deficiency in seeing red, for instance. Or you can have complete grayscale vision, which is really rare, but it still happens. Red-green color blindness is also the most common, happens to like 99% of people who are colorblind. And then this is colorblindAwareness.org, but here you can see there's a bunch of different types of color blindness. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce any of these right, but as you can see, like the range of colors that people with different types of color blindness can see does vary. But going back to the color blindness chart, The artist leaves a response saying, I can't see B and E at all, but is that correct? And people are saying that the correct answer is like whatever the number is. And the artist says, sometimes I get tricked thinking that there's no numbers at all and it's a trap, which sometimes they do that. But in this case, there is a number in every single one. And then referring to the art piece, the artist writes, no matter how you look at it, I could only see it as yellow, referring to the skin tone. So I grabbed the color picker and this happened. Total flip out. I used to be so bad at distinguishing pastel blues from reds. And turns out I'm weak at this too, huh? From what the artist has said in the comment section, it seemed like prior to this post being posted, they knew they had a weakness in colors, specifically, like they said, pastel blues and reds. But people were saying, hey, you should probably go to the hospital. And here the artist adds, I've had color vision deficiency from the start, but I usually use a color circle, so I don't make mistakes with colors. This time, for some reason, the skin color got shifted. And because of my color weakness, I didn't notice it and ended up posting it that way. And they added, I figured there was no urgency, but I personally felt there might be a possibility my color vision deficiency is worsening, so I really need to go to the ophthalmologist. Thank you all so much for your advice and such. Another commenter adds, were you originally colorblind? I was surprised because I hadn't noticed any signs of that in the way you place colors before. That said, it seems like your color perception is quite different. So please consider not only your eyes, but possible brain abnormalities and go to the hospital soon. The artist says, I've often experienced the phenomenon where I couldn't tell if it was originally light blue or pink. So I was aware of having color weakness as a symptom. I've never mistaken it for skin color, so I'm quite surprised. And a little while later, the artist updates, checkup is over. Regarding my eyes, it seems like there's no urgent abnormalities, which is a relief. As for the test results, it was a congenital color vision deficiency right on the borderline between type 1 dichromacy and type 2 dichromacy, leaning towards type 2. It's the kind where it's hard to distinguish between red and green. Apparently, it affects 5% of men, so I'm a 5-star super rare specimen. A commenter says, good work. I'm color weak myself and draw. Regarding colors, friends occasionally point out things like, oh, this was this color, but I've only been a little troubled by it and haven't had much problems overall. I don't know if this will be encouraging, but they're all wonderful illustrations, so keep it up. And the artist says, thank you so much. As for me, the only trouble I've had in my life so far is worrying whether meat was cooked or not. So I'll draw without worrying about it. Also, somebody had added, they seem to have duranopia green blind color blindness. And here they put a filter where you can kind of see, like, this is probably what the artist was seeing. Whereas this is, if you're not colorblind, this is likely what you're seeing. Because on a side note, I do think it's a bit interesting as well, because the artist was saying, oh, there's a lot of like warm tones around the green that was confusing my perception. With this filter, the hair looks very warm tone to me. To me, the hair actually does not look warm tone, like it's a light brown, but to me, the skin looks very baby green, like a mint chocolate chip green, but the hair actually looks like a very desaturated brown. So I just thought that was interesting because everybody's perception is different, but the artist was like, yeah, there's all these warm tone colors around it. And I just personally don't perceive the hair as warm. I perceive it as quite a cool toned blonde, like a dirty blonde. And then somebody quote retweeted it saying, the artist learned they were colorblind because of this drawing. We should all draw anime girls green in solidarity. Some people were commenting saying like, oh, this is like misinformation because the artist already knew they were colorblind. And again, it seems like looking from the comments that the artist had said, the artist knew they had a weakness, but not in green specifically. They thought they were weak in like pastel blues and pastel pinks, but then they actually found out they are red-green colorblind. So it didn't seem like they were like officially diagnosed with colorblindness. But I mean, you honestly don't really need an official diagnosis. Hey, this is skin tone. Your friend who isn't colorblind is like, brother, that's green. That's confirmation enough. And the artist adds, overseas fans are creating parody art. Funny. So it's a very wholesome end to all of this. The art piece is really, really cute. And the artist seems to be taking it with stride. They're like, yeah, you know, I'm going to keep drawing. Doesn't seem to affect me. And maybe now with this knowledge, they might just like, I don't know, double check the color wheel twice before posting. But honestly, if they post another green drawing, it'll just be really cute and funny. But one big thing though, that I want you guys to keep in mind is that a lot of people don't realize how common colorblindness is. It is literally a 1 in 20 person occurrence. So however many people we have viewing this video right now, well, like 5% of you guys are likely colorblind in some degree. Right? Like 5% of you guys are probably colorblind and you may or may not know it. So if you're watching this and you've never done the colorblind test yourself, this is one for you to look at. There is a number in every single one of these. And as somebody who is not colorblind, I will add everybody has a different perception of color. Two people can be not colorblind and one person might see colors more strongly than somebody else. But like, at least to me, B was the hardest for me to see. F is probably the second hardest for me, but like there are numbers in every single one of these. So if you do look at this and you don't see any numbers in it, you might be colorblind. And the second thing as well is when it comes to making character designs, etc., accessibility is a big thing. I taught like a game design course at UC Berkeley, and this was one thing that we did talk about is that there's a lot of, again, people who are colorblind. And when it comes to making like UI, game design, whatever, make sure that you just keep color blindness in mind for accessibility reasons, because 1 in 20 is a pretty significant chunk of the population. Again, there are different types of color blindness, but red-green is the most common, so just kind of keep that in mind. If we're making a character design and you want to add green and you want to add red into your design as well, I would recommend varying the values of the color. So if you want to do specifically green and red together, maybe make like one much lighter and one darker. So instead, use like a much lighter green, and then we can still use the same dark shade of red. And this way, even if somebody is red-green colorblind, the color values would look a lot different for them. To them, it might look something like this, but because the color values is different, like one is a much stronger, saturated, darker color than the other, it would still have that distinguishing factor. So just a little thing to keep in mind for accessibility reasons. Yeah. Or just try to avoid putting red and green like right next to each other, or like green text on a red background. Pretty difficult to see for people who are colorblind. Anyways, that was a little side tangent, but I'll have the artist link down below if you would like to go check them out and support. And if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out on Etsy. I have digital art there for streamers and creators. I also have a coffee with free resources like a free sponsorship guide. And I stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. Hope to catch y'all there or in another video. Peace.